The future is now. 3 tech breakthroughs that shocked 2026. Hello everyone. You are on the Digital Fresh channel. Imagine this scenario for a moment. You are sitting comfortably in your living room, and with nothing but a focused thought, you move the cursor across your screen to make your next move in a game of chess against a grandmaster located on another continent. Simultaneously, a computer, operating on principles of physics so alien to our everyday experience that they seem like magic, is solving a complex logistics problem for a global shipping company in a fraction of the time it would take every supercomputer on Earth working in unison. And while all this is happening, a miniature star, contained safely within a structure no larger than a city block, is burning steadily, its captured heat being converted into clean, limitless electricity that powers not just your home, but entire communities, all without producing a single gram of long-lived radioactive waste or a single molecule of carbon dioxide. This is not the distant future. This is not a scene from a science fiction novel set a century from now. This is the tangible, electrifying reality of the year 2026, a year that has already delivered not 1, not 2, but 3 monumental technological breakthroughs that have collectively redrawn the very boundaries of what humanity believed was possible. We stand at a unique inflection point in our history, a moment where the theoretical promises of decades of research have finally coalesced into practical, world-changing applications. And the most astonishing part of all this is that these are not isolated experimental curiosities confined to the pages of academic journals. They are robust, functioning systems that are beginning their journey out of the laboratory and into the real world, poised to reshape our economies, our societies, and our individual lives in ways we are only just beginning to comprehend. So let us pull back the curtain and take a deep, unflinching look at these 3 pillars of our new reality, starting with a technology that reaches not out into the world, but deep, incredibly deep, into the most complex organ in the known universe, the human brain itself, where the silent, invisible language of neurons is finally being translated into a direct, high-bandwidth dialogue with machines, a breakthrough that is restoring capabilities thought to be lost forever and opening a door to a future of human augmentation that was previously the stuff of pure fantasy. The story of this first revolution truly crystallizes around a young man named Nolan Arbaugh, a name that has become synonymous with a new chapter in human potential, whose life was irrevocably altered by a diving accident that left him paralyzed from the shoulders down, his world shrinking to the confines of his own mind and the limited physical interactions he could manage. For years, he, like millions of others living with severe paralysis, existed in a state of profound frustration. Possessing a fully functional mind trapped within a body that no longer obeyed its commands, a condition that is not merely a physical limitation, but a deep psychological and social isolation, stripping away fundamental aspects of human agency and independence. His life changed, quite literally overnight, when he became the first recipient of a next-generation neural interface, an implant so sophisticated and so seamlessly integrated with his own biology that it allowed him to control a computer cursor, type messages, browse the internet, and, in a moment that captured the world's imagination and provided undeniable, visceral proof of the technology's power, play a full, competitive game of chess using nothing but the focused intention of his own thoughts. A demonstration that was not a carefully staged trick, but a genuine, real-time interaction that showcased a level of precision, speed, and reliability that previous generations of brain-computer interfaces could only aspire to achieve, moving beyond crude on-off signals to a rich, nuanced stream of data that could interpret complex intentions and translate them into fluid, natural digital actions. This was not the work of a single company operating in secret, but the culmination of a global surge in neurotechnology, where advances in microfabrication allowed for the creation of threads thinner than a human hair, capable of being threaded through the brain's vasculature with minimal trauma. where breakthroughs in material science produced biocompatible coatings that prevented the body's immune system from rejecting the foreign object over years, not just months, and where revolutionary progress in machine learning algorithms enabled the real-time decoding of neural activity, learning and adapting to an individual's unique brain patterns to create a truly personalized and intuitive control system that felt less like operating a machine and more like an extension of one's own body, a symbiotic partnership between biology and silicon that blurred the line between user and tool in a way that was both profound and deeply personal. The implications of this physical AI convergence, as experts are now calling it, extend far beyond the noble and essential goal of restoring mobility and communication to those with disabilities. We are witnessing the dawn of a new era where the constraints of our physical form are no longer absolute, where a surgeon in Tokyo could perform an operation on a patient in Buenos Aires with the dexterity and tactile feedback of being in the same room, their movements translated by a neural interface into the precise actions of a robotic arm thousands of miles away, eliminating the latency and physical fatigue that plague current remote surgery. Where a musician, having lost the use of their hands, could compose and conduct a symphony by directly channeling their creative vision into a digital orchestra, their neural commands dictating not just the notes, but the subtle phrasing, dynamics, and emotional intent of every instrument. Where teams of scientists could collaborate on complex three-dimensional models of molecular structures, manipulating them with their minds as if they were tangible objects held in their hands, accelerating the pace of discovery in fields from drug design to material science at an unprecedented rate. This technology is not about replacing human skill or intuition, but about amplifying it, removing the friction between thought and action, and in doing so, unlocking reservoirs of creativity, productivity, and connection that have been dormant within us for millennia. A fundamental shift in the human condition that forces us to confront profound ethical and philosophical questions about identity, privacy, and what it truly means to be human in a world where our innermost thoughts can be read and potentially even influenced by external devices. As we grapple with the intimate, personal revolution happening inside our skulls, a second, equally profound transformation is unfolding in the realm of computation, a revolution that operates on a scale so vast and so counterintuitive that it challenges our most basic understanding of how information is processed. For over half a century, the entire digital world has been built upon the binary logic of silicon transistors, tiny switches that are either on or off, representing the ones and zeros that form the foundation of every piece of software, every digital image, and every stream of data we interact with daily. This paradigm, while incredibly powerful, is hitting a fundamental wall, a point where making transistors smaller and packing them more densely is no longer yielding the exponential gains in speed and efficiency we have come to expect. A wall that is threatened to stall the relentless forward march of technological progress. The breakthrough that has shattered this barrier is not an incremental improvement to the old system, but the birth of an entirely new one. Practical, error-corrected quantum computing, a field that has long been the domain of theoretical physicists and complex laboratory experiments, promising immense power but perpetually hamstrung by a single, seemingly insurmountable problem: the incredible fragility of the quantum states that give these machines their power, where the slightest vibration, the faintest whisper of heat, or a stray electromagnetic field could cause a calculation to collapse into meaningless noise, a problem known as decoherence. The solution to this decades-long conundrum arrived not as a single eureka moment, but as a brilliantly engineered architectural innovation, a prototype chip named Ocelot, unveiled by Amazon Web Services in the early months of 2025, a device that was not designed to be the largest or the most powerful quantum computer, but the most stable and scalable one ever conceived. Its genius lay in its approach to quantum error correction, the essential process of detecting and fixing the inevitable mistakes that occur during a quantum calculation, a process that in previous designs required a staggering overhead of physical qubits, perhaps 1,000 or more, to create a single, stable, logical qubit capable of performing reliable computations, an overhead so immense that building a machine with enough useful logical qubits to solve real-world problems seemed like a project for the distant future. Ocelot, however, implemented a novel architecture, leveraging a concept known as bosonic quantum error correction using CAT qubits, a design that, according to rigorous testing and analysis, could reduce the resources required for this vital error correction process by up to 90%, a reduction that is not merely impressive but transformative, effectively bringing the timeline for practical quantum advantage forward by a decade or more. This means that instead of needing a machine the size of a football field to perform a useful calculation, we are now talking about systems that could fit inside a standard server rack, making quantum computing not just a national laboratory curiosity, but a service that could be integrated into the cloud infrastructure that already powers the modern world, available on demand to researchers, engineers, and entrepreneurs who need to tackle problems that are simply intractable for even the most powerful classical supercomputers. The practical applications of this newfound computational power are staggering in their scope and potential impact. In the field of material science, quantum computers will be able to simulate the behavior of molecules and materials at the quantum mechanical level with perfect fidelity, allowing scientists to design new catalysts for carbon capture that operate at room temperature, create room temperature superconductors that could revolutionize energy transmission and magnetic levitation, or engineer entirely new classes of pharmaceuticals with precisely targeted effects and zero side effects, all by performing virtual experiments in silico that would take centuries to complete in a physical lab. In the realm of logistics and optimization, a quantum computer could analyze the entire global network of air traffic, shipping routes, and supply chains in real time, finding the absolute most efficient path for every single shipment, saving billions of dollars in fuel costs, and dramatically reducing the carbon footprint of global commerce. And in the world of artificial intelligence, it could train models on datasets of unimaginable size and complexity, uncovering hidden patterns in climate data, financial markets, or genetic information that could lead to breakthroughs in predicting natural disasters, preventing economic crises, or curing hereditary diseases. This is not about faster spreadsheets or quicker video rendering. This is about solving problems that have been considered fundamentally unsolvable, unlocking solutions to some of humanity's most persistent and complex challenges, from climate change to disease, by giving us a new lens through which to view and manipulate the very fabric of reality. While our minds are being connected to machines and our computational power is being expanded into a new quantum realm, a third and perhaps most critical breakthrough is addressing the very foundation of our modern civilization, our insatiable demand for energy, a demand that has powered our progress but has also brought us to the brink of environmental catastrophe. For over 70 years, the dream of fusion energy, the process that powers the sun and the stars, has been a tantalizing promise, a vision of a world powered by seawater and lithium, where the fuel is virtually limitless and the only byproduct is harmless helium, with no risk of meltdowns and no long-lived radioactive waste. Yet this dream has always been just out of reach, perpetually described as being 30 years away, a scientific and engineering challenge of such monumental proportions that many had begun to doubt it would ever be achieved within our lifetimes. The year 2026 has shattered that pessimism, not with a single earth-shattering announcement, but with a series of convergent advances from multiple private companies that have brought the goal of net energy gain, the point where a fusion reactor produces more energy than is required to initiate and sustain the reaction, from the realm of theoretical possibility into the domain of imminent engineering reality. Leading this charge are companies like Commonwealth Fusion Systems and Helion Energy, organizations that have moved beyond the massive government-funded tokamak projects of the past and embraced smaller, more agile, and more innovative designs. Commonwealth Fusion, backed by a staggering $863 million in a single funding round, is constructing its Spark reactor, a compact, high-field tokamak that leverages revolutionary high-temperature superconducting magnets to create the intense magnetic fields needed to confine the superhot plasma in a much smaller and more efficient device. Helion Energy, having secured over $150 million in new funding just last year, is pursuing a unique pulsed magneto-inertial fusion approach with its Copernicus reactor, designed to not only achieve net energy gain, but to do so in a system that can directly convert the energy of the fusion reaction into electricity, bypassing the inefficient steam turbine cycle that plagues conventional power plants and offering a path to a simpler, more cost-effective power plant design. The progress is no longer measured in distant goals, but in concrete, quantifiable milestones. Vacuum chambers have been fabricated, superconducting magnets have been successfully tested at full field strength, and plasma heating systems have been integrated and are undergoing final commissioning, with multiple independent analyses and industry surveys now converging on a consensus that the first demonstration of net energy gain from a private sector fusion reactor is not a question of if, but when, with many experts pointing to the early 2030s as the decade when fusion power will finally begin feeding electricity into the grid, a timeline that has been dramatically accelerated by the technological leaps of the past 2 years alone. The potential impact of this energy revolution is almost impossible to overstate. It represents a clean, safe, and virtually inexhaustible source of baseload power that could finally decouple human economic development from environmental degradation, allowing developing nations to industrialize without condemning themselves and the rest of the planet to a future of polluted skies and rising seas. It could power the energy-intensive processes required for large-scale desalination, turning arid coastal regions into fertile agricultural lands and solving the global water crisis. It could provide the vast amounts of clean electricity needed to produce green hydrogen, which could then be used to decarbonize the hard-to-abate sectors of heavy industry, aviation, and shipping, sectors that have proven resistant to electrification. And it could even power the direct air capture technologies needed to actively remove the legacy carbon dioxide we have already emitted, giving us a fighting chance to restore the planet's climate balance. This is not just another new power source, it is the missing keystone for a sustainable future. The one technology that, if successfully deployed at scale, could provide the energy abundance necessary to lift all of humanity out of poverty and into a new era of prosperity, all while healing the wounds we have inflicted on our home planet. So we find ourselves standing at a truly extraordinary crossroads, a moment in time where three distinct threads of human ingenuity, neural interfaces, quantum computing, and fusion energy have converged to create a tapestry of unprecedented possibility. The ability to directly link our thoughts to the digital world, the power to solve problems that were previously considered impossible, and the promise of limitless clean energy are no longer disparate futuristic concepts, but interconnected pillars of a new reality that is being built right now before our very eyes. The question that hangs in the air, the question that will define the coming decades, is not whether these technologies will change the world, they already are, but how we as a global society will choose to guide that change, how we will navigate the profound ethical dilemmas, the inevitable economic disruptions, and the complex geopolitical shifts that will accompany this new age. The future is no longer a distant destination we are traveling toward. It has arrived, it is dynamic, it is challenging, and it is incredibly, breathtakingly exciting. So do not be a passive observer in this unfolding story. Become an active participant, seek out the knowledge, engage in the discussions, and challenge yourselves to imagine not just what these technologies can do, but what kind of world we want them to help us build. Because the most important breakthrough of all is still ahead of us, and it resides not in a laboratory or a silicon chip, but in the collective wisdom, compassion, and courage of humanity itself. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell.